Hey everyone,
Royal
welcome back in.
Montreal.
Valero Texas Open. That's an off-season project, Andy. We got to update.
I need
I love it. It's
somebody.
funny at this point. It starts to kick in, and I'm like, is it going to say Valero Texas Open? It is,
It's
because
always going to say Valero Open.
I like it.
But yeah, we'll pop the background on because we are at the President's Cup. No apostrophe.
Hey. President's Cup, Royal Montreal. Excited to talk about this one. I mean, we were just talking before we went on. It's definitely the stepchild of team events.
Yeah, baby brother.
Combination of I think the fact that we kind of dominated this event 14 years, one international team win, one tie, and the Ryder Cup's a little bit more competitive, but I think that there's definitely something to that makes this interesting still. And I'm excited. How are we doing today?
Yeah, and I wish it were a little more competitive. And it's not like these countries that really help fill out the internationals are like up and coming golf countries that are going to get better in the years. Like Australian golf has always been good. Like for 30 years, you've had really good Australian golfers. Same thing for South Africa. I mean, Korea is maybe a little more recent, but there's been good Korean players for quite a few of these already. And we just, it's just not quite, not quite competitive to the level of where that's the fun of the Ryder Cup is like, it's going to be close most years, at least, until the golf starts getting played and things can get weird. But yeah, it's Hideki, Koreans, South Africans, Australians, and Canadians is kind of where we're at. I mean, did I miss any countries there?
I mean, we had Abe Answer, so we had Mexico, we had some Chileans. If we would have had the non-live guys, we would have, Neiman and Mito in years past, and hopefully in future iterations. But
it's crazy it's been that long. Like it has been long enough where Cam Smith and Neiman were left off the 22 squad. Yeah. Live feels like it hasn't been around that long, but this will be the second straight President's Cup where guys that should have qualified, Cam Smith and Joaquin Neiman, are not on the team. They would have been probably Cam Smith, I know his results haven't been as good on Live, but I mean, they're just as good as Hideki and Sungjae and Tom Kim. Like they're at the top of the board. That's what kind of takes away from this a little as well. And like you said, the U.S. has been dominant, hasn't lost since '98. We had the one tie, and it kind of feels like more of the same. But the fun part is there's a bunch of props if you want to get betting on this thing. You can bet all kinds of stuff, just like we did at the Ryder. I'm probably taking the same approach I did to the Ryder Cup, getting more involved in props. And you can dig into that however you want. If you have some questions on that, hit us up. If you're in the Discord, obviously hit us up. And yeah, let's look at Montreal. Like, what do you got to say about this course?
Well, your President's Cup, I think part of why it's just for folks too, like this is a PGA Tour sanctioned event, which is part of why we have no live golfers in this versus those not quite the limitations on the Ryder Cup side, which is, again, they're trying to find ways to make sure that happens, especially on the European side for what happens, next year in New York, which will be interesting. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I do think there's something to be said for the fact that the U.S. has dominated, and because the international team is such an underdog that to us, it might be it could be a snooze fest at times. Though I'll say this, it's been more competitive in an international setting. And because you have the fact that like no U.S. team wants to be, you don't want to be a part of that, like losing U.S. team. Right. And so you have the underdog fighting to overcome this insurmountable task. And you have this favorite that's such a heavy favorite that you can't be the squad that shows up and just kind of shits the bed. So it does create a dynamic that like these guys still super duper care about this, even though there's, I think, no money involved. And I think, being able to represent your country or,
and there's some money that goes to charity. There is some money. It does go to charity. And I think that's something you see definitely in the Ryder Cups is there's a big home court advantage for the hosting, nation or continent in that case. In this case, the nation versus all the other continents except one and two other countries. And I guess Central America, if we had some golfers that were good from like Honduras, which we don't have right now. I'd like to see them pick it up a little in the international community. But I think it's tempered a little bit this year, even though there are a handful of Canadians on the team and it's hosted in Canada. By not having this in Australia, South Africa, say what you want about the Middle East. There's some good courses over there. They have a shitload of money, and they have some good courses they use for the DP World Tour as well. Not having this at a different time zone, and having that the big travel spot for the U.S. team, I think that dampens the home field a little bit. And the fact that it's just right there, it's basically you're basically playing in like New Hampshire. It's Montreal. It's barely an international course. It's not, hey, this is European design and it's a little different. And a lot of the DP guys have played on, this course in Rome, this course in France. This is just a Parkland Northeastern course, man. It's not like they were able to, oh man, we're going to set this up and screw with the Americans. It just feels like they don't have some sort of international advantage in this spot being up in Montreal. Course looks fine. It's nothing exciting. It's old as shit. It's like 150 years old. It's cool in that sense. It has some nice holes. It has some nice tests of distance to carry a few of those hazards in a few spots. But it's a lot different when you start looking at things from a foursome four-ball perspective, realizing like, well, if you have a guy who's not long off the drive, he's on a team with another guy. Like you just pair some weaknesses up with strengths and you're going to be fine on a lot of those holes that have little things like that are going to affect some of these good players.
Yeah. As someone from New Hampshire, used to drive up to Montreal for family reunions every year. I feel like it's not that close, but you're right in terms of stylistically the way the golf courses are laid out. I'm just making a joke there. But yeah, look, we've been here before for normal tour events. We've been here for a Ryder Cup in 2007. Every time we've played this track, accuracy off the tee has been massively important. It sounds like Mike Weir, as the international team head coach here, is going to play that up a little bit, where they want to continue to grow this rough out in a thick way to mitigate some of the distance advantage. The problem is the United States is also the more accurate off the tee club here. So that does kind of neutral. And that's just kind of the thing. There's really no part of the international team where just in terms of holistically where they have an advantage over the US. And that is part of why it's, reflected the way it is in the market. So more interesting to bet into some of the props, as Andy was saying there too. And there's so many of those, and that's probably the best way to kind of approach it. So looking back at my Ryder Cup performance from Rome, I didn't do well on the the individual point total ones. I had some Ricky, and then I believe Ricky got sick, didn't end up getting to play as much, so that hurt. I feel like there's one other guy where I couldn't get him over the hump to get him that last half point that I needed, but I played like a European alt. I played like Europe to win the first session. I think that was 4-0 or something like that. A lot of those where it's just like, hey, do you want to lay minus 250 or do you want to play some fun props of like US is up, 5-0 after US is up 4-1 or 5-0 after the first session. You can play the handicap. It was a 5-point difference 2 years ago. This week's handicap is 3.5, which feels, even to me, I'm thinking it should be 4.5. I think that's a little short. I'm probably, giving away the spoilers, I'm probably going to play that handicap to the US because I think they do have some pretty massive advantages until they head into the singles events on Sundays, where the advantage is smaller, but still there. It's just skill level to skill level. It's across the board. It's just advantage, and until you get down to the bottom of it. And like you said, lots of different ways to bet it. I'm with you too. There's some some range buckets, like bands in terms of what that is going to be. You could take some exact score stuff if you wanted to really get out there. It's really hard in a situation where like half points are in play. You're really bringing in just a crap ton of variance. You probably have to kind of fire at a handful of those within a range. But yeah, to Andy's point, like there are some books that have that line at 3.5 out there, basically, minus 110 on both sides. But then you can have like the US to win by 3, 4, or 5, or even like a 4 to 6 band, and that's like 4 to 1. So
I looked at that 4 to 6 band. I like that quite a bit as well. I'm going to play that as well as the handicap. I'm trying to see where that was. It was 4 to 1 where I'm looking as well. I think that's going to be something to bet. I don't see the, what would 7? What do you need to get to 7? There's 30 points. So you're talking
it's a pretty big
12 doesn't even get you there. It has to be 18 and a half, 11 and a half. That's a blowout on Sunday as well, which I don't see. So I'm liking that one.
Some interesting things, some nuggets. Again, course in terms of like, Ron's got a preview up on the site. Check that out if you want to find it out. Andy said, without getting into a ton of stuff, it's fairly narrow fairways. They want to play, accuracy off the tee. It's going to matter a ton. These are kind of a bent POA green surface. Pretty straightforward. There's more parkland on the front. There's some water risk reward stuff on the back that I think is really good for match play. In terms of the layout, like you said, we're going to have a mix of 4 days. And you also have 5 matches. So you just have 2 guys sitting in each of those little pockets, which I think is, again, a little bit of a difference from what we see in the Ryder Cup. You have the 4 guys sitting, but you have foursome matches on Thursday, 4-ball on Friday, and then they go back to that. So you basically have, best ball versus everyone plays their own shot and you take the low score. And then you have the final event on Sunday where it's just 12 guys playing heads up match play style again, which is great. I would love for this to be
during football,
not during football season, right? Like, God, it would be hard.
I think that's another part of what makes it tough sometimes. That's what I love about the Ryder Cup when it's international, because it's early. Like, this is just going to be morning golf. That's the tough part. Like, this is East Coast time. And I did do a quick Dutching calculator. So the first session, you can, like, if you take the US wins 4 to 1, US wins 4.5 to 0.5, or sweep and Dutch all 3, and bet them at different amounts to get the exact same bet on all 3. That's like a plus 250. So plus 250 to win at least 4 is something I might look at as well. That's a fun one. I was sitting there doing math while you were talking. But yeah, and someone in the comments says, it's just not getting any Europeans on an international team. That would be fun. That would be fun if they just did, hey, what if we let Europeans play as well?
I do think having this be competitive matters a little bit, because I feel like there's just enough talk about changing the format. And I think for it to kind of keep the integrity that it has, it'd be nice for the internationals to show up a little bit. And they did last time we were in Australia for this, I believe they got up to a 4-1 lead on Thursday by doing the format differently, by kind of leaning on alternate shot, which I think is probably their best bet in terms of, the foursomes or 4-ball split. So that's probably, again, their best shot, and would like to see some sort of, match where they show up a little bit and make it a little competitive. So, you can go over to the site and find out more specifics on the course. But let's start to speculate on the one in Australia was 10-8 going into Sunday, and US went 8-4 in the Sunday finals, and ended up winning that 16-14, which was a close one. I guess fun close down at Royal Melbourne. Another beautiful Royal course. Do we not have Royal? We need to get some Royal courses in the US. Yeah, we don't. I don't think it's possible just because we don't have a royal family. What are you showing me here? Tail of the tape? This is from Ron's preview. I personally don't put a ton of weight in this stuff, but I think people love it. If you want to get a sense of how people have played in match play, how people have played in team events, Ron put this together for folks. There's just a lot of like noise in these samples. They're small samples in a lot of instances. Who you played against isn't captured here. So like take this with a grain of salt. I wouldn't make massive sweeping decisions off of this data, but people do like the data, and we do have that here on the site just to get a sense of how people played. Again, we don't have match play on tour anymore. They took away. That obviously was a very unique course and a very unique event. Like kind of a wonky P die track that I think led to some, very specific winners and competitors near the top of that year in and year out. But I guess there's something to be said for how players have played and fared in team competitions too, though. Again, like, look, Hideki and Adam Scott in particular have been around for a lot of these, Jason Day as well. So that the fact that they're like hovering around even 500, considering what's happened from a U.S. versus international situation over the years, kind of speaks to, just how they've been consistently good golfers for a pretty long time. But yeah, it's out there for you. And again, more information on the course as well.
I think that's a fun market too to look at, is just because, I mean, if you look at the projections at a 3.5 line, which is juiced, it's more like 3.75. You're talking about 17, 13 roughly. So with Europe only projected to score, the internationals only projected to score 12, 13 points on average. The highest scoring international point total is interesting because of Hideki and Sungjae eating up so much of the top there, where Jason Day has been good in match play. Jason Day has been good in, events like this. And Jason Day is not one of the favorites. He's near the bottom. He's 10-1 or better to be top international point scorer. Go look at Ryder Cup results. Look at President's Cup results. You get weird, score. Just a lot of it is who'd you end up with a partner. And
correct.
The last time out, your leading scorer was Siwoo Kim, followed by Sungjae Im and Sebastian Munoz. 3 for Siwoo, 2.5 for Sungjae and Sebastian. Obviously, Jason Day wasn't on that team.
Wasn't playing very good golf.
He wasn't playing very good golf. It's been better. I'm trying to look who he was. Yeah, he wasn't even in the listings. 2019, actually look at 2019 too, where they actually scored a bunch of points. Your leading point scorer for the internationals was Abe Answer, tied with Sungjae Im. So maybe Sungjae Im is just a god here. He's 6-1 to be your top international point scorer. I don't know. Maybe I'm beating a couple of these guys.
So it gets to a situation where the guessing who's going to be able to play all 5 sessions matters. And again, that happens a little bit more here than the Ryder Cup because there are the extra sessions each time. 5 versus the 4, that helps a little bit. Where basically Adam Scott sat once in his entire President's Cup career. So Adam Scott, and he's playing good golf. Adam Scott's out there for all 5, looking at the international team. Sungjae, Hideki, Tom Kim. I'm interested to see how he handles the Canadians and the approach there. But then there's a really good nugget that I got from our guy, Justin Ray. And I think this is really interesting. So especially on the alternate shot format, there's a pattern that makes a ton of sense where you can start to try to think about how these teams are going to be paired up. It's a par 70. So we have one, we have obviously the par 5s, less par 5s. We have the more par 4s, but the par 3s, all 4 par 3s are on odd holes. So on alternate shot, the way it works is you alternate tee shots from odds and evens. So whoever you tee up on the first hole will tee off on all your odd holes, meaning that they will be your approach shot for all 4 of your par 3s. Also, the way it works too is that on the flip side of it, if you're teeing off on even holes, if you're in scoring position, that player is also going to probably have the birdie putts.
He's taking all your birdie putts there.
All your birdie putts. So if you can start to pair really good iron players with probably strong putters / strong, off the tee guys, those start to make some interesting pairings that maybe we're not thinking about. So, you start to pair some guys. You think about the one he gets, I think it's a great one on the international side, is Corey Connors and Jason Day. Corey Connors is consistent as you get in terms of, tee to green, not a great putter. Jason Day's kind of struggled this year with his irons, but is still one of the absolute best putters in the world. That team makes a ton of sense when you start to pair stuff up. When you start to pair up maybe who is going to be, are you going to go international with a Mac Hughes? But how can you get Mac Hughes putting as much as possible? But that means you're going to probably get Mac Hughes off the tee a little bit more. So those things get kind of interesting in terms of how you start to pair these teams out. So obviously the pairings that we think are going to happen at some point, some of the layups that have been historically out there, especially on the U.S. side, is Scotty and Sam Burns and Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay. So do those continue to happen, or is there something to be said for, mixing those up and trying to match and pair those up? Because that, when you start to think about that in particular, Sam Burns gets really interesting if he's part of Scotty groups, playing well, played well down the stretch, has played well in Canada historically. So Sam Burns is a spot where, that starts to look pretty interesting. What are your thoughts on any team matchups?
They were the only team to lose in the Thursday foursomes last year or 2 years ago.
Scotty went 0-3-1 in Quail Hollow.
Scotty did not play well. Scotty doesn't sometimes play well at courses he hasn't seen much of. Will be interesting, although this course really does set up well for him. And the joke is they all do eventually. Yeah. He's Scotty Scheffler, but they lost to Siwoo Kim and Cam Davis. And they were the only team that lost in the first Thursday foursomes. U.S. went 4-1 in foursomes and 4-ball on Thursday, Friday, and then just kind of coasted through the weekend, I suppose. Did win Sunday, but when you get a big lead like that, it really does make the weekend boring as well.
It does.
Although, there's so many matches on Sunday. It's still nobody's dead. It's just like, there's so many good golfers. So interesting look at that, because I do wonder about the United States team and, who are leading scorers, where it was like the last time out, Spieth 5, Homa 4, Thomas 4. Those aren't guys I'm excited to back at all, given their, current form.
Yeah, Homa in the market's getting a bump for his strong team play, but the form has been horrendous.
Homa for sure. I wonder, he's a good team player, but I wonder what, I wonder how often he's out there. It's one of those things where the betting community, the stats community, the data community all realize, like, hey, Max Homa shouldn't be on this team, but Max Homa was picked. And I don't think he was picked as we got to get Max in this team and just not play him.
Right.
So I guess if he plays really shitty on Thursday, you don't have to play him throughout the weekend. But like, this isn't let's keep putting him out there. Hope he gets it right. You have enough golfers out there where you only need 10 at a time. Just save them for Sunday at that point. But it'll be interesting to see how much Harman, Homa, even Spieth, whose Spieth's points are good enough to almost be there at the 22, and he ended up, or is he? Yeah, never mind on Spieth. I'm still looking at the 2020.
Oh yeah,
2020. Yeah, I'm looking at the 2022. I'm like, he's not on this team.
Yeah, there's the California connection where you have kind of the Morikawa, Homa, Tagala section where it's like, okay, there's some vibes there. Cantlay's obviously Xander, the California kid too, but like you feel like there's some natural pairings in there. Harman and Homa played together, I believe, twice at the Ryder Cup and had some success. You also have Harman in terms of skill set fits. Harman and his college teammate, Georgia Bulldog, Russell Henley, seem to be a nice natural, alternate shot pairing. But is that a great fit in terms of some of the other stuff? So this will come as no shock to you. I need to get some sort of Russell Henley money down. It's just a matter of, is he playing 5? I don't know. But in terms of like what I think this course demands, I think Russell Henley is a fantastic fit. So whether it's top U.S. rookie, 550, 6-1, I think is interesting in that 4-man market. I don't love, his competitors there. I just don't think he should be priced significantly different than all these other guys. Wyndham has not been far off of Max in terms of like end of the year form. Did not play well down the very late stretch of the season. Didn't play well at Silverado last time out. So don't love that. Same thing with some of the other guys. I mean, Thigala has been okay, but I just feel like this is a great setup for Henley. So Henley, top U.S. rookie, definitely appealing to me. Going back to the top U.S. point scorer, like again, making the case for Burns. He's going to be, if he's paired with Scotty 1 or 2 times, damn, that helps again. And get himself out there for 5 chances at the Apple. That's probably pretty nice at plus 750. So there's talk of Colin and Scotty get together. That's also an interesting pairing to me. But I like the price on Burns, but some of the other guys deeper down the board, I don't like quite as much. But again, I wouldn't shoot at the top, but I'm guessing you probably agree.
Yeah, no, I'm further down the board on stuff like that every time.
Yeah.
I just missed out on European rookie because they all played so well at the Ryder Cup. I think I lost that by a half point. We still won some matchups in that, but boy, all the young guys for Europe played so well. I don't know if that bodes super well for us. I think Bethpage is going to be a meat grinder. That's going to be a really good one.
Yeah.
And some of this too, you talk about the strategy of putting the team together. You talk about, these holes, Byron, Lindeek, dirty international. I have to hate him this week.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that guy. I don't like
fan of that asshole. He's from the opposite side, and I'm betting the US. But he had a good tweet. I bookmarked it because this shithead put it out on September 4th. I'm like, God, the President's Cup isn't forever. I'm gonna have to save this tweet. But he looked at the holes and the order of things, and the way it sets up is a player on the alternate shot could be hitting 13 approach shots, and on the other side, player B would be hitting 9 drives, which is the most possible considering there's the par 3s. It's not 9 out of 18, it's 9 out of 14, and 13 short game shots. So I think coaching is going to matter more so than ever when you have this setup where you can really put the right teams in the alternate shot. And I'm very interested to see how alternate shot goes. I think there's going to be a ton of scoring, and there is going to be a ton of halved holes where there's just so many opportunities for the right kind of teams put together to score really well. And you like you said, you have the Scotty Burns team. You have, honestly, who does Morikawa play with? He's good off the tee. He's good off the tee and on approach.
Yeah.
But who's
he started putting really well down the stretch too.
The putting's nice, but put him with, I like him with Sahith to finish some of his putts. And honestly, but Sahith is good off the tee. It's hard to figure out how that works for some of the American teams because there are so many players that are just really good ball strikers. But like you said, with Corey Connors being how he is, and then Taylor Pendrith, Taylor Pendrith and Mackenzie Hughes are good putters. You can put them with either Canadian, and I think that's a really nice matchup.
Pendrith is very interesting to me. I have a couple in terms of if I was going down the board. I really think actually the last two guys on this list are very interesting on the international side. Pendrith bombs it, actually can be decently straight, and is a fantastic putter. So did not play well at Quail Hollow, but played well down the stretch this past season. And I think his form is decent. Form's hard here because we haven't seen these guys quite as much. We also have a decent stretch of Ben On can get paired with. Ben On's had some success in team events in the past with Adam Scott. So if Ben On and Adam Scott are out together, you can obviously see Ben On with any of the other Asian guys, Sanjay, Hideki, Tom Kim, Siwoo. That helps. Again, long off the tee can help. If we can get some of the guys with the putter, that could help him quite a bit. So those guys are just very interesting to me deeper down the board. So yeah, I think obviously Sanjay, Decky, Adam Scott make a ton of sense too. But just if I was looking to go down the board, I think Pendrith. There's also the Pendrith. Again, we talked about this in the Ryder Cup team. Pendrith and Hideki both use Strixon golf balls. So from an alternate shot standpoint, there's
you have to
helps
hit the other guy's ball. Yeah,
you got to hit the other guy's ball.
It's
that
small,
these guys matters.
A small thing, but it matters.
I don't think it's nothing.
They're very particular about that sort of thing.
Yep.
I'm a noodle man myself.
I'm also a Strixon guy, so like I get it. I don't want to hit your overpriced Pro V1X. Like, give me a Pro V or
I haven't hit
a
mine yet.
Z-Star Strixon all day. So yeah,
I'm still sitting on mine. I haven't had the guts to hit them. I've gone 2 consecutive rounds without losing a ball, and there's a blind dog leg that I cut the corner on every time, and then my son hits the ball 110 yards. So then he has to go hit it, 2 more times to get to the green. And every time I'm just wondering, like, will I see it when I get there? And twice now I've been ecstatic, but not losing a ball. So I haven't got into the Pro V1s yet. Still got too many noodles left. I haven't seen this market up where I'm looking, and I only have one book open, and it's not a sponsored show, so I won't mention it. But they do have the over-unders on points for individual players usually listed where it'll be, this is something I've bet every year, especially for Ryder Cup, where it'll be like, hey, Scotty Scheffler over under 3.5 points, and usually they have to index that stuff pretty high because it's hard to tell exactly who's going to play and what. But that's something interesting if you are paying attention today. So today at about 20 minutes, Jim Furyk and Mike Weir, the 2 captains, will have their press conferences. And if you are interested in really digging in and betting some of those, I think that's worth listening to. It's worth watching who's practicing with who's playing with who over the next couple of days to kind of get a feel, because, there are some guys that are just, you can't leave these guys out. Like, you're not going to end up leaving Sung JM out for 3 sessions. You're not going to take Hideki off the course for 3 sessions. If you think somebody is going to be paired with, even Morikawa should play all of them. Like, some of these guys that are, the top 3 or 4 guys on each team, if somebody you didn't expect is paired with them for a practice round or 2, they might be worth looking at their over-under, because they don't even have to play good. If their playing partner is just crushing things, you're going to end up with some nice wins. Like the Wyndham Keegan, that's an under for me. No offense, Keegan.
Shout out to EPAT. Eric Patterson from The Score is on the premises this week. It looks like we have some practice group observations. On the U.S. side, Xander, Finau, Wyndham, and Keegan all practicing together, which is interesting. And then you have Homa, Cantley, Burns, and Harman. And again, like he notes here, Harman and Homa, 2-1 in Rome. Henley Burns is very interesting to me as well. I don't know how the top group would be split. Xander, Finau, Wyndham, Keegan. Again, it's hard with Xander and Scotty because there's just so few flaws. Xander even more so in this event, I think, is better because of his putting prowess. So I think those are interesting to note. Let's see if he has any notes on the international side. So Thigala, Henley, Scotty, Morikawa. So that's interesting of what we have kind of going on here on the U.S. practice schedule. So nothing else on the international side from EPAT yet. But yeah, worth noting and worth monitoring. You said the pressers, because we'll get more information. Some read the tea leaves stuff there for sure.
Yeah, even if you and there's going to be transcripts of those pressers too, if you don't want to sit and watch Mike Weir talk for half an hour, which I think is probably the worst. One of the worst things I could think of doing this afternoon. But that watch who's practicing with each other, watch who the captains talk about. Everybody else is going to have pressers as well. There a bunch of the guys are going to go through and do press conferences this afternoon as well. Maybe you can read some tea leaves there and find some nuggets on some of these guys for their over-unders. I think those will start to appear this afternoon into tomorrow. I wouldn't want to put those up right now if I'm books, not understanding exactly who the
for sure, absolutely are. Yep, absolutely. DraftKings lets you bet player to win 5 points. Again, rare. Part of it is ensuring that the player is going to play all the time, and that's kind of how the board lends itself to the top. Not a market that I'm looking to jump into a ton, though Xander would probably be the chalk preference up there. Again, just because he's just trust his putting to be massively impactful. So some different correct score stuff by day is out here as well. Again, really hard because, again, you're getting into half points. But just back to the tournament props, top international wild card to me is interesting. This is, again, a spot where Pendrith is appealing to me, and similar to like top US rookie or top US or wild card with Henley being interesting to me just because of the who he's up against in that 4-man group of Wyndham, Thigala, Harmon, and Henley. I like Henley there, way off market in my opinion. So that'd be something that I'm going to look to get into as well. But those are kind of my favorite bets.
Yeah, and I'll probably tickle some overall correct point score stuff. I'll make 1 or 2 of those for fun for some small bets.
Yeah,
I'll bet some U.S. domination day 1, although I'm not sure we have the better captain. I think that's probably about a wash. We certainly didn't at the Ryder Cup. I don't think we'll have the better captain at the next Ryder Cup, even though I think
First of all, wash your mouth.
It could be an improvement. It should be an improvement. It has to be an improvement, but I think it's still, it's still kind of silly that we went out there and just got spanked in Rome by analytics, which sucks in this day and age. Day 1 winner, USA minus 150 is a bet. And then, like I said, I'll be laying USA minus 3.5, minus 125, looking for a better price on that if I find one. And get 5 full points is such a tough one. I don't think there's anybody I'm really interested. Like, it's just rare. It's hard to get out there and win over and over. Like we even seen, your favorite for that is Scotty Scheffler. Go look up how many points he had in 22 and tell me you want to bet 12-1 on that. Like, it's sometimes match play doesn't go the way you think based on the pairings.
1,000%.
Yeah. And it was his first appearance at this sort of thing. He hadn't really done it. Maybe it'll be a lot better. But yeah, there's not a lot of guys I'm interested. It would have to be a U.S. player. So, and it's funny, Patrick and Xander are the same price, which makes sense. It's the same guy.
Yeah. I just think in that sense, who's going to be more likely to be their favorite on Sunday in a single, right? It's going to be Xander.
Yeah. The only one I really have looked at and have thought about is Adam Scott.
Adam Scott's playing good.
He's playing good. He'll be partnered up with somebody good. It'd probably be like, I don't know if he'll play with Day because he's Australian or if they'll just kind of bounce him around because he's a savvy old vet and he can probably help out a lot of the younger players and play with anybody. But he's playing as well as a lot of people. And I know his approach is mid, but everything else is pretty good. And he's going to play a bunch. And his price for 5 points is like 65-1.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this
That's a dumb bomb, but I might play it.
This is why the Adam Scott thing kind of comes out to me to be a Ben An thing, because they played twice together in Australia and they won both matches. So that would seem like a thing that the international side would probably want to go back to.
Yeah.
So that's like, you're just getting, about 10, 12 points more on Ben An to step up there and take that down. So that's why that's kind of my interest in him, is really through the thought that he could be paired with Adam Scott, who's playing really good golf and probably helps the internationals win. So
yeah, I wonder if he bounces between An and Minwoo Lee as far as his partners go. I can see that. Be interesting. One market I saw that I will not be betting and is just the stupidest thing I've ever seen is the player to get the winning point / half point.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Like the favorites are, Scheffler, Morikawa, Cantlay, Xander, Homa.
Why? Based on what?
11. I don't know. Yeah. The first 9, 10, 11, 12. The first 12 listed are U.S. players in a row.
Yeah.
All
the U.S. guys.
Yeah, it's all the U.S. players basically listed with Tom Kim a little lower. But it's hard to say, like, what's the Sunday order going to look like?
Just go by a scratchy, right?
Yeah, if you want to bet into that market at like
Yeah.
12 to 1 to get the winning point. And if you hit that, I mean, good for you, I guess, but that's not something I'm going to be interested in.
No, I mean, I would way prefer exact score stuff, which I don't like. But in terms of just like what the lotto
exact
stuff,
exact score is enough of a crapshoot.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, give me that over the rest of it. So shop this
I
around.
like
It's hard for us to talk about prices and offerings because all books are a little different.
I like to make a prediction and bet it.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I probably will bet some 17.5, 12.5. I think that's my final prediction.
Okay.
11 to 1. It is one of the favorites. But still, it's fun. It'll be fun if it's tight and you're like, oh shit, now I got to cheer for Jason Day to win his matchup late, or oh man, I need Minwoo Lee to have this and get half a point. Like it does cause some stress when there might be like 4 guys out there and the tournament's over, and you still need them to score the correct amount of points in the last few holes for you to get that win. It's a fun one to have. I mean, honestly, it's like having halftime bet last night. What the hell do you do when the Bills are up 34 to 3? You start picking backups so you have something to sweat. And the Discord went even further than me. I just bet some Ray Davis overs. And the Discord is going finding like Ray Davis final touchdown, Ray Davis anytime touchdown. Big numbers. Got some big numbers. And it's Ty Johnson. Ty Johnson loses a yard. In trots Ray Davis, and the Discord goes wild. That was, I'm going to remember it. It's just a garbage game, but it was over and over and over. And it's fun. It's fun. Well, it's fun to have something when something's over. So a couple props like that for the end, because I think this might be an uninteresting Sunday of golf in the end of it. But it is nice. I haven't looked exactly at the schedule, how early it starts on Sunday. It'll be nice to have some golf on the TV while I'm waiting for football to go. Hope to God they start at like 9 a.m.
Yeah, they don't. But
let's look that up before we go. President's Cup schedule. Schedule of events. Oh, this is like when the volunteers need to show up. So gates open at 9. Singles begin at 12 Eastern. Jesus Christ. Football's on, Canada. It's so dumb. So yeah, it's like noon to 6 Eastern. So I guess I get an hour of golf before football starts. I'm done. Done with this. All right, we're calling it a podcast then.
And they did a decent job this week. We have 8 and 4, and so it's not like we have a 10 and 3 window where it's like, oh, we can get some afternoon golf in there because there's just 3 games and one of them is guaranteed to be garbage. So nope, 8 and 4, decent split. So too bad. Start earlier. That's all I got.
If you remember, they don't release this from the PGA as like a field that we can download from the API, but we went and hand loaded the 24 golfers.
Mm-hmm.
24? Yeah.
24. Yeah. Andy Lykes got them all in here for people.
Yeah, we went and hand loaded them. If you want to go run some models on just how do these compare? And a little trick you can do is put a star next to everybody with an American flag and then go show favorites only. And you can start looking at, the US only team. I'm going to try to find a better way to do that next year where the dev team is going to hate me doing this for like one event every 2 years, but like you need to make a toggle where it only shows, 12 who have a certain tag. And then I want to only, honestly, it could be 3 fields. What we could do, we could say, I want to load 3 fields for next week. I want the President's Cup, the US team, and the international team. And then you can switch fields up top. That's way easier. But yeah, if you want to only look at the US team, you can do it this way. Start looking at how they compare. A lot of green, pretty good team. I think we're going to win.
Yep.
If you're not a member, there's a bunch of easy ways to get in. I know it's September. I know it's football season. I know golf is maybe on the back burner, but if you're a hardo, if you're a hardo and you like to bet golf and you like to bet golf next year, we're still going to be able to get you a full membership for $10 running that Rebet deal still. If you sign up buy $10 in Rebet bucks, I will send you a code for a full year, which is a pretty goddamn good deal, I think. Sanderson coming up next week, Black Desert, Shriners, Zozo. Even if you just wanted to grab a monthly membership for $30, you got 4 tournaments in a row after this from here through the end of October. It's a kind of a good stretch for the off season. This is a fun one. We have the KFT Championship in there. We got Andalusia. There's some good DP events that I'm going to probably maybe put a few bucks on as well. So check it out. If you have questions, hit us in the DMs. Otherwise, the link is in the description of the YouTube and the podcast to get you your $10 full year membership. And I know, again, it's September, but a full year means you will have a subscription when January rolls around. You want to bet golf again. You'll have a subscription when we head to Augusta in August. You'll have a subscription when we go to Royal Crenshaw. I can't think of the Open. What it is. Royal Berkshire. I'm still not saying the right one. I can't think of where the Open is. We're going to Quail Hollow.
Islands. Yeah.
Quail Hollow. Where's PG? That's the PGA. The US Open is Oakmont. And I said Royal Crenshaw.
Yeah, Royal Ben Crenshaw.
Royal PGA Championship. No, it's called the Open Championship.
Yeah, we're going back to Ireland.
This is going to bother me a lot. Portrush. What did I say? Crenshaw. I think that's a South Central LA. All right, guys. I'm gone for real this time. It's been nice. Hit the thumbs up if you watched. And we'll see you out there. See you out there in the fields.